Okay, hi all. Coming here today to share a dream that I received on the 5th of January from the Lord, and I've just simply called it Pet Human's Dream. This is another warning about AI. Okay, in the description box, I'm just going to share again the rise of AI, which was a word from Abba Father, and a bad dreams. It's actually called Bad Dreams Dream, and the dangers of AI and technology, another word that I'd already received from the Lord with regards to this. So this again is a further warning. And I believe that many of his children, his lost sheep, are going to be lost, are already lost in this world of AI, not understanding or realizing the dangers. And, I've even heard it said that many of his children are even using AI to put together sermons. Understand, when you do this outside of reading a physical Bible and being with the Lord, you're not being filled with His Holy Presence, His Holy Spirit, and you're not being taught by Holy Spirit. You're not being led by Holy Spirit in any way. If you use the internet or technology in any way to do this, especially AI, because it is an artificial intelligence, it is a demonic entity, and it is extremely dangerous, and people cannot see the dangers. Now, in this dream, I don't know if this was a picture of what is actually going to happen in the future, or whether it was just a warning that this could happen, and this is where AI is wanting to take it. And this is what would happen if our King Yeshua then wouldn't come back and stop all this from happening. So just take this as a warning dream and not necessarily prophetic that this is actually going to happen. Okay, and as always, please pray about this and take it to the Lord in your own prayer time for confirmation. So in this dream, I was just viewing it at this point. I didn't know any people in this dream. I didn't know who they were. And it was given to me an impression now that there's very few humans now left in the earth. Everyone was completely separate. There was now no families. You lived on your own and you went to work on your own. So this first scene, I was actually, as I say, just viewing, and I could just see a load of people stood on steps outside a huge concrete building, just ready to go in. And people were being dropped off individually in like electric cars, and driverless cars, and one at a time everyone was just then getting out, meeting on these concrete steps. There was no more than, say, 20-30 people, and then everyone went in to this building, which was called our workplace, and it was, people were colleagues, although they were considered friends of each other. It was a very, very different environment to today. Now, when people then went in, they were then all plugged up, all had their own separate little room, very, very small cubicles, but they were all concrete. And so when you got into this box, it was extremely small and you couldn't see anybody else. The whole thing was just concrete. And then people were just then plugged into the system. They again were called units for people. When a person then is plugged in for the day, they believe that this is their purpose. They are given this purpose and this work to do, believing that it's their choice. So at this point in time, all the people did not know that actually they were enslaved. They had no idea. When they were plugged into the system, they believed that they were then at work, doing work tasks. But actually, they were being monitored, they were being indoctrinated, they were being programmed, and they, as I say, they were being monitored, so they were being watched. And it was for AI to learn about human nature, and they were trying to optimize and how to constantly keep humans satisfied and happy so that they can continue to come to work and be plugged into the system, because they were basically the energy source for AI. So they didn't want to keep humans happy because they cared about humans. They wanted to keep humans happy because it was their energy source. So they constantly just monitored and watched humans to see their interactions and to just keep learning and learning more and more about us. And individually as well as collectively. When everyone was plugged in, it was a hive mind, okay? So after this work was finished, everyone again came onto the steps, had that moment of maybe just, speaking, until one by one then these individual cars would turn up for each individual. Nobody got into each other's. There wasn't room. There was just room for one, maybe another person, but nobody else got in with anybody else. It was all your own individual car, electric car, that would then take you home. But again, as I say, everything was a unit. Wherever a human lived or worked was called a unit. And then the scene shifted. So I was now just viewing a man in his unit, and there was a hologram in this place. This hologram was an AI companion, and for him it was female. Again, the impression in my spirit was that they get to choose a companion, whether it be friend or romantic or, mother figure, father, whatever it was to that individual person, they did choose what AI companion they could have. Again, giving this element of choice to a human being. And again, this is AI and how AI is seeing us right now. So this companion started talking and then asking, what do you want for tea? Again, this element of choice, but giving this man the choices, and then he got to pick out of whatever was offered to him. There was no kitchen in this place, no fridge or anything like that. Everything just got delivered. I didn't know where from, but what I did know was that the food was synthetic. And there was nothing in this place. Again, it was very, very small unit. It didn't even have a bed. It had a sleeping area, and everything that was in this room was carved out of concrete. So even there was some chairs, or it was more like a long bench, but it was concrete, with a table which was also concrete, cut out of the whole block of concrete. Everything was just one. And as I say, the sleeping area was a cut into the side of the wall. He did have a pillow and at least a sleeping mat, and then just a sheet on top of that. Not a duvet, just a sheet. Everything was just so basic. But this man did not know any different. This is how he grew up. This is how he has lived his whole life. He doesn't know any different. As I say, there's no families and no get-togethers. The only time a person ever saw another person was on them concrete steps before going in to the workplaces, the units, and then on their way out. The only other time then was because then a scene shifted and I was actually now in the dream, and it was showing me now in this dream, the Lord was showing me how they dealt with human feelings. So in other words, I become romantically interested in this dream. It was my husband in the dream, but he wasn't my husband in the dream, if that makes sense. So my romantic interest was my husband, but at this point we were only interested in each other in the dream. We'd never met outside of just meeting on the steps and, going into work and coming out, but we wanted to meet. And so how AI dealt with this situation was, yes, we'll allow you to meet again, giving us the impression that we've got this choice. But then what they would do was, before my husband, or before my romantic interest turned up in the dream, was they got him drunk. They made him eat before he got to the restaurant. So when he arrived, he couldn't really speak to me and he wasn't hungry. So AI had come to realize that our connections to each other a lot of the times is actually through food and connecting this way, eating together, talking with each other, and being on the same level, But in this moment, he didn't want to eat. He actually felt sick and he was drunk. And so the attraction for both of us was completely then severed. We were not attracted to each other now because of this meeting that went terribly wrong. And, this date, although it wasn't even called a date. And then that was it. The attraction had gone, and I no longer in this dream wanted to pursue anything. And that is how AI managed to cut attraction, managed to sever those connections between humans. They didn't want humans to have those feelings or emotions towards each other because we were kept apart. As I say, there was no families. Now, it's only my impression, but I believe that, even humans were just grown in a lab somewhere. We see those individual pods that they've got now. Now, that wasn't shown to me, but that was just the impression that I was given with regards to everything, that we just didn't have any connections at all with each other in any single way. AI had managed to learn how to sever them connections as well. And it was all through manipulation. Now, what they did as well, and going back then to the man who was in his unit, at his home in his unit, when they wanted to get information from a human, they had human agents, and there was this one particular man then that turned up at the door, and he would meet all of the people in his group, because we were all put into groups as human beings. We were all grouped mainly in same ages. We didn't come into contact with other groups of humans, but I just knew again in this dream that we were just all in many, many different groups. And this man who governed us and would meet us on individual basis, he was in charge of many, many groups, but we didn't know him. He was just there as an agent for AI. He was on the side of AI. He didn't care about humans at all. And he would turn up then and get people drunk. And again, drugs and alcohol was used a lot to manipulate and to keep us suppressed, but to also lower our inhibitions so that we would tell them our innermost secrets, if you like. And this is how they used drugs and alcohol to do this as well, to learn from us, but in different ways. And so this man was an AI, if you like, used by AI as an agent, but he didn't care. We thought he was there to care for us, and he gave that impression that he was there to care for us, but he wasn't. He was just there to keep monitoring us, to keep us as good citizens in this society. And I don't know what happened to the people that were probably coming aware of themselves. That I don't know at all. And so then I woke up. That was it about the dream. But what was very clear to me was that it was almost like we were zombies. Any emotions were manipulated and suppressed very, very quickly by AI because they'd learned so much about us that they could do this. And again, but we were unaware of this. In the dream, everyone was unaware. Everyone thought they were free, but they were completely enslaved by AI. And AI, at this point in time, just knew so much about not just humans as a collective, but each individual that was born into this society. And they could manipulate. They knew weaknesses, strengths, everything. They just knew everything and how to manipulate. And the words that came to mind with regards to this was, not only we're zombies, but comfortably numb. You know, if you ever have heard that Pink Floyd song, that is what came to mind, that everyone was just comfortably numb. That is the best way I could describe throughout this whole dream. So as I say, again, this was given to me as a warning. Whether this is going to be prophetic and be a future happening, I don't know. Or whether this is what would eventually happen if our King Yeshua wouldn't come back when he is planning to come back, that this is how the world would eventually be. Humans completely enslaved by AI. And, you know, not just Satan and the fallen angels. And I don't know where they came into this at all. This was just a warning about AI itself, but I'm pretty sure that it is a demonic entity, AI, and being used as a tool by the enemy. Absolutely. And again, we know this. Just read the book of Revelation. It's all in there, isn't it? And so that was the dream. And again, please go and view the other previous words and dreams from the Lord that he's given me, just warning, because a big, big issue is that people are turning to AI, as I say, for scriptures, they're spending time with AI rather than actually getting in the secret place and spending time with the Lord. They might be going over scriptures and reading scriptures, putting together sermons, but it is all an intellectual exercise. If you are not taking the time to be in his holy presence, reading a physical book and spending the time with the Lord, our Abba Father, our King Yeshua. And this is with great sadness, I know, is on his heart, that this rising AI and especially technology has just taken over the hearts and minds of many of his children. Okay, I love you all and see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.